The fertilized ovule is called seed. Dear students, you may remember, after the fertilization there are a number of changes that takes place in ovary. You know that ovary become fruit, ovule become seed. So we used to call the fertilized ovule is called seed because it possesses an embryo, endosperm and a protective coat. In this session, we are going to look after dicotyledon seed. Example for dicotyledon seed, size of seed is given. The mature seeds are attached to the fruit by a stalk called as funiculus. We already know the stalk of the ovule is called funicle. We discussed the same. The funiculus disappearing and leaving a scar called hilum. Below the hilum, a small pore that we can see, it is called as micropile. So micropile is also absorbing seed. What is the role of the micropile? Micropile, it facilitates entry of oxygen and water into the seed during the seed germination. In dicot seed, each seed it has a thick outer covering called seed coat. The seed coat is developed from the integuments of the ovule. Outer seed coat is called testa and it is very hard, whereas the inner seed coat is called tegmen, which is thin and membranous. In pea plant, that is called Pisum sativum plant, the tegmen and the testa both are fused together. The seed of Pisum sativum, in which two cotyledons are there. Similarly, the dicot seed, example gram seed or sizer, in which you can see the two cotyledons. The two cotyledons are laterally attached to the embryonic axis and store food material. You can see the cotyledons. The two cotyledons which are laterally attached to the embryonic axis and store food materials in pea plant. Other dicotyledon seeds like a castor and the endosperm, other seeds like castor in which the endosperm, the reserve food material is stored because the cotyledon is very thin. The portion of embryonal axis projecting beyond the cotyledons is called radicle. You can see the plumule and the radicle. You can see the portion of embryonal axis projecting beyond the cotyledons is called radicle, which is also called embryonic root. The other end of the axis of the embryonic shoot, is called embryonic shoot, is called plumule. The embryonic axis above the level of the cotyledon, which we called epicotyle, whereas the cylindrical region which between the level of the cotyledon is called hypocotyle. So hypocotyle is the region is between the level of the cotyledons. Plumule gives rise to shoot system and radicle gives rise to root system during the development of the seed. Dear students, in the next class we shall continue. Thank you. Monocot seed. Let us continue. The seed of paddy is one-seeded and it is called as caryopsis. Each seed remains enclosed by a brownish husk which contains of glumes arranged in 2 rows. The seed coat is a brownish membranous layer closely adhered to the grain. Endosperm. Endosperm forms the bulk of grain and it is the storage tissue. Endosperm is separated from embryo by a definite layer is called epithelium. The embryo is small and it consists of one shield-shaped cotyledon known as scutellum present towards lateral side of embryonic axis. A short axis with plumule and radicle is protected by the root cap is present. The plumule is surrounded by a protective sheath called coleoptile. Observe the picture again. The plumule is surrounded by a protective sheath called coleoptile. The radicle in the embryo, including root cap, is also covered by a protective sheath called coleorhiza. It is called coleorhiza. So the plumule is surrounded by a protective sheath called coleoptile. The shield-shaped cotyledon called scutellum supplies the growing embryo with food material absorbed from the endosperm with the help of the epithelium. Just a quick recall of monocot seed, Oryza sativa. The seed of paddy is one-seeded, hence it is called caryopsis. Each seed of paddy is surrounded by a brownish husk, contains glumes. The seed coat is brownish, membranous, closely attached to the grain. Endosperm, which forms bulk of the seed, separated from the embryo. Endosperm is storage tissue. The embryo and endosperm separated by epithelial layer. Embryo contains one shield-shaped cotyledon called scutellum. Embryonic axis which contain plumule protected by coleoptile. The radicle is protected by coleorhiza. The growing embryo obtains food from the nutritive tissue called endosperm with the help of epithelium. I hope children you might have understand the detailed structure of monocot seed. Go through once again, practice the diagram. It is very much useful to you. Thank you very much children. Let us see in the next class.